Perfect. Welcome to the Fall and Rise podcast, a podcast about real people, real setbacks, and relentless comebacks. Today we're joined with Julia. Julia, introduce yourself because there's quite a story to what you've done, and it's going to be an amazing podcast episode. So, who are you and what do you do?
Hi, yeah, so like you said, my name is Julia. Full name is Julia Lubova, and I'm from the UK, but I do live in Switzerland, in Zermatt. And I guess my day job is a journalist, but I run my Instagram account, Julia in the Alps. So actually, you know me as Julia in the Alps. And my page is all about mountaineering, climbing mountains, mainly in the Alps, but also, of course, beyond the world. And I've just recently come back from an Everest expedition, and now it's time for the alpine season here. So I guess I live in the perfect place for that, right in the middle of the Alps. So that's what I do. I climb mountains, and whenever I'm not working, and and running my Instagram page.
So your Instagram page I came across about a year ago, and it was one of your mountaineering tips, one of those posts. What inspired you to start posting those tips, posting your recommendations? Why did you start doing that?
Yeah, that's right. So one of the main things I post about is kind of tips for, I don't know, like climbing routes or things to wear or how to do some things, because the idea came from myself arriving in Switzerland 6 years ago, and then starting to do alpine climbing here. But I didn't know anything. I didn't know anybody. I just knew my local Swiss alpine club, but I didn't really know where to start. I dreamt of climbing the Matterhorn, but then I didn't even know where to find the mountain guide for this. So I kind of went through trial and error all these years. And so the idea of my page is basically to help beginners in mountaineering in particular, to basically not repeat the same mistakes and have a place where they can ask for advice, where they can see maybe some tips like yourself, and maybe find something useful. So that's basically where it came from, myself going through that some years ago.
Definitely. Where did your mountaineering journey start? Because you just mentioned that you'd just come back from Everest. That's probably one of the biggest things you can achieve in mountaineering. Where did that journey begin?
It's a long story, I suppose, but actually not that long, because I don't come from like a mountain or mountaineering background at all. I started mountaineering just literally 10 years ago. So I actually grew up in big cities all my life. So I think I left London in 2010. So then I lived in big cities all throughout. In my time that I've been in the UK, I haven't even been to the Peak District. So that's how little I knew about mountains then. I was doing long distance running. So I was doing marathons, like the London Marathon, Berlin Marathon, and 3 others, and loads of long distance running races. And then in 2016, I think a little bit earlier, a friend of mine gave me an idea to go to Kilimanjaro, which was kind of, 5'9", I think it is. So it was a really nice idea for me, because at that stage I had already done 5 marathons, and I was getting a little bit, not bored, but I felt like I want to try something different. So that's why I jumped at the idea to go to Kilimanjaro. And while there, I just fell in love with the mountains, and also heard of this 7 Summit project, which is climbing the highest mountain on each continent. And Kilimanjaro is the highest in Africa. So from there, I decided that I want to do this project. And that's how it started. Then shortly after, I went to Elbrus in Russia, and then in Argentina. And then basically from then I moved to Switzerland like 6 years ago, and took up alpine climbing here. But I'm still pursuing the 7 Summit project. So of course now Everest, that was my 4th of the 7 Summits. So that's how the journey started. Some basic rock climbing before, some hiking, especially in Norway. But basically Kilimanjaro was my starting point.
Wow. So obviously in May, I believe you just summited Everest. I mean, that is incredible. That is something that few people aspire to do within their lives, and you're not done there. You're keeping going. So what's next, and what drives you to keep pushing forward?
Yeah, so Everest is true. It's not so many people. Well, actually, I think overall it's like 12,000 people have summited Everest. But out of those 12,000 people, something like 1,000 women who have summited Everest. So it sounds like a lot of people, 12,000, but 1,000 women, it's not so many. I hope that with my page, I also inspire some women to take up mountaineering, because it is largely a kind of a man's sport. And so, and it's really nice to see more girls and women in the mountains, which is a trend that I've noticed in the last few years for sure. Well, I mean, I'm sure it's been going on for many years, but it's just like I see more girls and women in the mountains now. So what next? I don't know. I guess like I will be pursuing my 7 summit project. So hopefully I'll go to Papua New Guinea next, which is the Carstens Pyramid. It's not so high, but it's it's very remote. And it's one of the 7 summits, so you have to climb it if you want to do this project. And I would love to continue climbing 8,000 as well, but it's not so simple because they're very expensive expeditions. They take a long time. So I'm just kind of going through it and then see what happens. I don't have any plans, like any particular plans right now, but I'm hoping to go to Carstens Pyramid next, and then maybe Vincent Pyramid, massive in Antarctica. So hopefully I can focus on the 7 summits first this year and next year, and then we'll see.
Wicked. So obviously doing what you're doing and the extent of what you're doing and the extremity, lots of people will go out there rock climbing like Jonah does and things like that, but you're doing some absolutely massive mountains all across the world. How do you find the time to do this? Do you not have a job? Is this your only thing you're doing? Like, what do you do?
Well, I wish it was my job, but no, I do have a day job as a journalist. So I work from home, which is very lucky. Before, I used to live in Geneva, and I used to have to go to the office, but for the last 3 years or so, I've been working from home. Yeah, I mean, like moving to Switzerland also got me thinking of what I want to do with my career as a journalist. I've been doing it for many years, so like I kind of feel that I have got everything out of it, and Switzerland is not really a news kind of place, Like when I was in London, it was great, but now here it's some breaking news happen very rarely. So I got thinking, what am I gonna do next? Because I want to live in the mountains, I want to live in Switzerland, but I need to do something, I need to have a job as well that I like to do. So I looked into doing social media, and that's where my Instagram page came from, because it used to be just literally my personal account. And then I changed it into a business account. So now I run it more professionally. And so that's basically my idea going forward, is that I will be making my social media work more professional and more full-time. But also from my journalism times, I'm a filmmaker. So that's also something that I've been trying to do. For example, when I went to Everest and to Manaslu last year, part of my deal, I suppose, of this expedition was that I was making a film about the expedition. So and that's also something I would like to pursue, to be involved in bigger projects, like some kind of film production. So I guess mountains, they allow me to do something that I really love, but also use my journalism, filmmaking, editing skills as well.
Yeah.
So I saw. No, sorry. Go. You go on,
John. You go, mate. You go.
Are you going or am I going?
No, you're going.
Okay. I saw at Christmas time you did a film in collaboration with 8K Expeditions. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the partnership between the two of you and the film itself?
Yes, that's right. So that was the partnership with 8K, was that I go on the expedition to Manaslu. It was in September last year, and that I make a film at the end of this. So basically, as well as climbing the mountain, I had to film, because I am just one person team. So like I basically do everything myself. I prepare the idea. I pitch it to the client, if you like, to whoever I want to partner with. And then I film everything myself, and then I edit. Manaslu film was kind of my first big expedition film, and I've learned some lessons from that. For example, for Everest film, I am definitely hiring an editor. It's just too much work for one person. Manaslu was not such a big project. It was only 14 minutes long, but you wouldn't believe how long it took me. I was staying up until 4:00 in the morning, almost for a month, every day, just to try to finish little bits of like editing, color grading, all these things. So it's a huge job for one person. So for my Everest film, I am gonna get somebody else on board to help me with the editing. And the Manaslu film was basically an account of our expedition with 8K Expeditions, talking about the company, talking about the services they offer, talking about the expedition itself. So there are interviews from different climbers at different stage of the expedition. So the film kind of talks about what it's like to climb Manaslu, but also gives you an idea of what it's like to climb Manaslu with 8K Expeditions. So that's the idea behind this partnership, is that, to show the climbing and show the company as well and the services they offer.
Wow. So you mentioned your filming. how do you do it? Because climbing those 8,000 meters and even the films you've done in the Alps, they're all very technical mountains. How are you filming and how are you getting the gear up? How are you doing that?
Oh, I guess I'm just, my phone is always in my hand, I suppose. Well, not really, but yeah. It's always in my front pocket. But I use, on a big expedition like this, I have different cameras. So for Manaslu and for Everest, I would have loved to fly my drone there, but it's totally possible to fly a drone at 8,000 meters. But the permit for that, it's very expensive for like a foreign filmer. And so there was a special person who was doing all the drone filming, but he licenses all of the footage to me, so like I can use it in my films. And then I used my sort of normal camera for the base camp filming, and then for all my interviews. And for higher camps, I just use like a smaller camera or my phone, my iPhone 16 Pro, which is like amazing quality. And it's very light, and I can use the microphones and I can use all the lights. So like I just basically add things to make it look better, to look at more professional. Yeah, and so what I have, some action cameras as well, like on the helmet and things. So that's 4 cameras I take on an expedition.
And your most recent Everest expedition was with 8K again, wasn't it?
Yeah. So after
Carry on, sorry.
No, yeah, it was definitely, it was with 8K expeditions, because after Manaslu, you just kind of, I felt the team was amazing. I had my guide who I climbed Manaslu with. He obviously works for 8K expeditions, and I wanted to climb with him again the next mountain. And so when we talked about the next expedition and the next project, it was an actual choice to go with 8K expeditions, because it also felt like coming home, after Manaslu. So it was all the same people, same base camp staff. It was just really nice. They're part of my family now, for sure.
So the Everest expedition, how was it how did you do your acclimatization rotation?
Yeah, so basically for Everest, it was very long. It was altogether 57 days that I've been away from home. But my trek from Lukla began on, let's say, 8th of April or something like this. That took 8 days to get to the base camp. So you acclimatize as you do the trek. So you go up to Namche, you rest, then you go a little bit higher, then you sleep lower, that kind of thing. So you acclimatize to 5,000 meters. Then at the base camp, we spent maybe 1 week just basically resting at the base camp and getting used to that altitude. And we did some acclimatization hikes to Pomori base camp, which is maybe 5,800. So that was really nice. And then you do your first rotation, like real rotation on Everest, when you cross the Khumbu Icefall. So that was 5 days. I can't remember exactly when it was, maybe 2 or 3 weeks later. It was not immediately, but we had to wait for some time, because we had to wait for, first of all, the icefall doctors to fix the route on the Khumbu Icefall before continuing to Camp 2. So we got as far as Camp 2, a little bit higher. That was the idea for the acclimatization, is that we cross the Khumbu Icefall, then we get to Camp 1, which is at 6,1, I think, 6,1. Sleep there, and then see how we feel. But everybody in my group, we were 5 people, 5 climbers, and we all felt really good. No headaches, nothing. So we just kind of the normal good feelings staying at that altitude. So we decided to continue up to Camp 2, because normally we would have to come down to base camp again and then do the second rotation. But we kind of thought, well, we feel good, so let's just go to Camp 2. We went to Camp 2 and we ended up staying there for 3 days. So the first night we slept, then the second day was the rest day. Then we did a little, they call it touch, like Camp 3 or something like this. It's just basically you go to a higher altitude, you spend some time there, then you come back again. Because normally on this acclimatization rotation, you'll go to Camp 3, ideally. 1,000 meters, but the Lhotse phase was super icy. It was like blank ice. It was not possible. Well, it would have been possible, but very difficult to pass. Also, the winds were very strong and the ropes were still not fixed up there. So we didn't go to Camp 3, but instead we stayed for 3 nights at Camp 2, which was just as good. Camp 2 is at 1,200 meters. So then felt good. I had no headaches. I had no problems. It was just basically, you're not comfortable at that altitude. You just wanted to come down and enjoy my tent. So then we went to base camp, and the idea to get better acclimatization is to go even lower. So then a few days later I went, but it wasn't even so much for acclimatization. It was basically I picked up some kind of illness, or kind of flu symptoms, like cold symptoms. Like my nose was running, I had a cough, and at the base camp it doesn't get better, so you need to go lower to recover. And of course, for the summit push, you want to be as healthy as possible. So then I went to Lukla along with other people. Most people will do this, go down and lower to like Lukla or Namcho, or even Kathmandu. So I flew to Lukla, spent 5 days there. I was staying in a hotel with an electric blanket. It was the best thing ever. So the doctor in the hospital checked me and he said, no, it's fine. It's just like some kind of cold altitude, like, like being cold at altitude kind of symptoms, nothing too serious. So he gave me a cough medicine, and this cough medicine was just knocking me out. So I'll wake up in the morning, have breakfast, and go back to bed and sleep until 2. And there's like 5 days of doing this. They helped me recover from my cold. And so I came back to base camp feeling really good. And 3 days after that, I went on my summit push.
Wow. So obviously that in of itself was a little setback. Is that as far as it goes? Is everything normally smooth sailing and you just breeze through these mountains? Or have there been times where there have been some real rocky patches? And if so, what were they? And how did you get through them?
Well, yeah, so I guess one of the most important things in those high altitude mountains is that you need to stay healthy, and that's not always, it's not up to you. So I was so prepared. I was so healthy beforehand. It was, like I avoided the Kumbukov on the trek. Then I stayed as healthy as I could on avoiding like kind of touching things, shaking hands with people, just basically keeping myself to myself in the base camp to avoid getting some kind of a virus or something. And I think possibly there was a problem with water at Camp 2. I mean, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a doctor or anything like this, but it just seems that I picked up that illness from Camp 2 or after being at Camp 2. And it kind of makes sense because I've recently found out that the glaciers contain like bacteria and viruses that live like are frozen inside for like thousands of years. And of course, when glaciers are melting, so those bacteria are melting with it. And at 6,200 meters, when you boil your water, it doesn't get boiled 100%, it's something like 70%. So possibly that the water that I drank was not 100% clean. Maybe that's what caused those like problems with my throat and my nose and so on. So yeah, staying healthy is very important. I had a similar problem on Amadablam 3 years before. I also got sick and had to climbing. I mean, it doesn't stop you from climbing, but it just makes it so much more difficult. Like on Everest, again, on my summit rotation, after feeling good after Lukla, I got sick again at Camp 2. And so imagine like trying to climb with like my throat was hurting so much. Like I felt like somebody was cutting my throat with a knife. So trying to climb like this, it's not great. But there's nothing you can do. I mean, it doesn't stop me from climbing. I'm just feeling weaker and more tired. And the same thing happened to me on Amadablam. So yeah, I got through it, but you just felt so much harder. So yeah, so I guess like that's one of the biggest challenges is that to stay healthy up there.
Yeah, and when you have these setbacks, obviously you can do all you can to keep your health in check, but mentally, how do you keep your mind locked in on the goal when you have these setbacks? What do you do?
Yeah, I suppose this is probably something that helps me from my long distance running days, the endurance and the kind of mindset that you can keep going for hours and hours, and in this case for days. Like my summit push was literally almost 40 hours without sleep. So yeah, I mean, I wanted to turn around so many times. Like I was happy. I thought about it. I was thinking, what am I doing here? Why am I doing this? Why? Like it's just the thoughts. Like I just remember there's one point I was kind of climbing up to like 8,500 meters on Everest. And I was so tired, and I was just like, oh my God, it's still so far away. And I was just, why am I here? What's going on? Why do I choose these things? And why do I do this to myself? So trust me, there were so many times that I could have turned around. But I mean, having a supportive like partner with me, which, the same guide that I had on Manaslu and now on Everest, because we climbed together. So we are friends. And so it was really good to have him, because every time I was like, I want to like, he will kind of encourage me to keep going and like this. And also to help me mentally to get through like a long night of climbing, I try to break it down a little bit. So for example, on Everest, instead of thinking of, okay, now I need to get to the South Summit or this, I think, okay, let's just get to that next anchor and then we'll see how I feel. So and the anchor of the fixed rope is like 30, 40, 20 meters. So I would literally like climb up to the next anchor and think, oh, that was not so bad. Okay, let's go to the next one. So I kind of played games with myself, my own mind. So, and that helped me to kind of break it down into little bits of the route. And then somehow we are already at the South Summit. And then it's like, oh, wow, okay, that's the summit ridge. So yeah, small steps. that really help you, like help me mentally on those long summit pushes.
So breaking it down into those smaller, more manageable goals compared to your much larger goal must have really helped you, especially on the descent after you've summited. What were your emotions like when you summited, and then how hard was it coming back down?
Well, like, I told you that I was very tired going up anyway. So I picked up some kind of an infection anyway. So I was really tired. I was really fed up. I wanted to be anywhere but there. But then when we got to the South Summit and when you see the summit ridge, I thought it will take me 10 minutes to cross. I don't know where I got this idea from. So as we were climbing and the time was getting way beyond 10 minutes, it was like 1 hour or something. I was getting a bit stressed because like, oh, maybe we're being too slow or something. But no, it was just me getting some wrong idea from somewhere. It takes about 2 hours to cross the Summit Ridge. And when we arrived, I was just so relieved. I was relieved that finally it's over. I don't have to climb up anymore. Now we just have a little rest and go down. So we had, of course it was really beautiful, but it was also really windy. So it was kind of dangerous to be up there for too long. And it was because we knew that the weather could change like within 2 seconds. We had blue sky. It was a really clear day, but really windy. But we knew that the weather will change at some point. So we need to spend as little time as possible, then go down. So we spent, I think in total, it was maybe 40 minutes. It sounds like a lot, but actually, by the time you took all the pictures, all the flags with sponsors and all the videos, and even tried to enjoy a little bit the view as well, it was, time to go down. And going down, to be honest, it's all like a little bit of a blur. Not a blur, like I was fine, like I didn't have any problems with my head, like as in I didn't have any altitude sickness. I knew exactly what was going on. It was only maybe at the end of the Lhotse phase that I started hallucinating and seeing the clouds were making shapes, but that was just being exhausted from 2 days of climbing. So it was just it was again like you've done it, like okay, I've done it. Can I just go home now? But you can't, because you still have to climb down like another 2,000 meters, and it's at nighttime and it's snowing and it's just there's nobody else around. So it's just one of those things that you just have to keep pushing until you get to a safe point. So I didn't have to go down all the way to Camp 2. A lot of people, as it turns out now, sleep at Camp 4, which is what we were told we must not do. We, at all costs, in any situation, we must go down to Camp 3 or to Camp 2. So that was in my head, that I must descend to Camp 2. So in the end, my summit push was very long, but it didn't need to be like this. But I felt it was safer to go down somewhere where I don't need oxygen anymore. Whereas in Camp 4, you would have to sleep with oxygen. But that was a really strange sensation, sleeping with the oxygen mask on, because I was just really worried that it might not be working. So it's better to go down to Camp 2 than to sleep and worry that it might not work.
Wow. So last week, we actually spoke to Bianca, and 17-year-old Australian girl, very interesting, some of the things she's done. And she was, I believe, Camp 4, the death zone, sleeping for, I believe, 4 days on supplemental oxygen, so it just shows that, some people are just built different. And it's great to see that a woman such as young as her is up there in the mountains. How did you meet her? And what's your sort of experience with obviously this young Australian climber?
Yeah, Bianca is my friend actually, so I'm really happy that you mentioned her. So we actually got talking on Instagram, and then we met finally in person on Manaslu expedition. So we met probably in Kathmandu. No, we actually met on the mountain somewhere. But because we were climbing Manaslu at the same time, but we were climbing with different companies. So I was with 8K Expeditions and she was with somebody else. So we were not at the same camp. But anyway, we met on the mountain, and then we met in Kathmandu afterwards. She was with her dad as well. So we went for coffees or dinner. I can't remember which one. And then we stayed in touch. And for Everest, we actually met in Kathmandu before we set off on our expeditions, because we arrived more or less at the same time. And then again, they were climbing with a different company. So we didn't stay together, but we met for coffees and so on at the base camp. And we met each other on the mountain as well. And so Bianca became the youngest woman to summit Manaslu, I believe. And I think, she would have become the youngest Australian woman to summit Everest if it worked out. But I know that I had problems with the wind, with the horrible weather. It just somehow, weirdly, it changed this season. This season was really windy. Normally, 20-something of May, that's the kind of the normal weather window for Everest summits. But this year, everybody who went up after the 22nd or 23rd, it seems that not many people summited then. I don't know what happened, because I believe that the weather was showing like it's going to be a good window, but then when they arrived there, it's actually really windy and too cold. So I summited on the 15th, and that's kind of like the early season, I suppose, of summiting. So it's literally 4 days after the ropes were even fixed to the summit in the first place. So yeah, so I was really lucky with the weather. I was very lucky with my day, good weather, good wind, while it was manageable. But they had problems. The wind was so strong that you couldn't even move, you couldn't walk. So that's why they turn around. And that's really a shame, because I know how heartbreaking that must have been to get that high, to get that close to the summit, and having to turn around because of the weather. Because I know she's very strong. She's in a really good physical shape. So she definitely would have been able to do this, no problems, had it been for a good weather day. So I feel really like sorry for that, what happened. And several other of my friends also, they were up there at the same time at Camp 4 and they couldn't summit. And I just know how much money it costs. I know how much effort these people put into this expedition, and how much training you have to do. And it's just so heartbreaking, that the weather stopped them from going to the summit. And I really hope that soon Bianca can come back and get to the summit finally. And I really... Yeah.
From your climbing in the Alps, you must have learned how it feels to have to turn around just beneath the summit. How does that feel? Can you explain that to us?
Yes, in the Alps, it's a little bit different, I guess. So in the Alps, we are affected by the weather much more. Also, the weather and our tiredness and our condition, and also the conditions on the mountain as well. So you never know what you might find up there. So actually, Bianca again and her dad, they were in the Alps just now for the last few weeks. So we went climbing to Zinalrodhon in Zermatt. It's a great example of how it can be in the Alps. Okay, so at the weekend, the weather was not looking great. Like there was some rain forecast for Saturday, but Sunday morning looked good. Like it was okay, a little bit cloudy, but it's dry. Until maybe afternoon time when the rain's supposed to be coming, but it's not even so much. So we decided to just go for it, see how far we can get and see what happens. Went all the way up to the hut at 3,200 meters from Zermatt at 700 meters altitude gain. And then we slept the night in the hut, and like at 2 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning, we set off for the summit. And we've been climbing, I don't know, however time it was, maybe for... I don't know, we've been climbing for a while, and then the weather was okay. It was kind of a little bit in the clouds, some sunshine, so it was changeable. And then we got to the point where we met some climbers coming down, and I asked them how long it will take to go from this point to the summit. And we got chatting, and they said that actually it's quite icy up there. So that would have taken us even, if not twice as long, but much longer, because if conditions are dry, then you move faster. But if it's icy, of course, you need to protect more and you move slower. So we made the decision to turn around because we knew that at some point there will be rain coming. So we just didn't have enough time to get to the summit safely. And then, of course, the way down, it's the same way. So you have to climb down, which is even more difficult than climbing up sometimes. So for this reason, we made a decision to turn around. Again, it was really... a sad situation because we're so close. We were literally 150 meters from the summit. We've done most of the work, but yeah, well, sometimes it's like this. I guess the only way I can compare like feelings of that disappointment of not reaching the summit in the Alps is much lesser scale, because of course you can always come back. It doesn't cost tens of thousands of dollars, to climb a mountain in the Alps. So you can always try again in a few weeks or in a few months or even next year, whereas something like Everest is a different story. It's much more bigger from all perspectives, like financial and training and everything. So yeah, but in the end, it's always the mountain that says what happens.
Definitely. So Julia, we ask 3 questions to all our guests. The first question is, who inspired you to do what you do?
Who inspired me? So I guess in terms of my alpine climbing, I have been inspired by quite a few people here in Switzerland. Well, I would say to pursue alpine climbing and to stick with it, in my first year of climbing here in the Alps in 2020, I did my mountaineering course, like a advanced mountaineering course in Grindenwald. And then after this, I went to do some big climbs with mountain guides. And then after this, I started to climb by myself with friends. So on one of those big climbs, it was the Matterhorn. It was my big dream before, so I wanted to climb it as soon as possible. And of course, I went with the mountain guide. And the mountain guide that I went with, he lives in Zermatt. His name is Andy Steindl. He's, I don't know if you heard him, he holds this record from running from Zermatt Church to the summit of Matterhorn and back in less than 4 hours. So I just really wanted to be as fast and as strong as him, when I started climbing. I just wanted to be able to do all these cool things and all these cool climbs that he's done. And so that was, I guess, one of the inspirations to continue learning, to continue practicing, to get more experience. Of course, I'm probably never going to get to that level, but at least I can try to do cool things which are cool for me, like for what I can do. So yeah, it's just like these climbers who are like Danny Arnold. Also, he was my guide on the Eiger, and also he inspired me to try to, I don't know, train harder, to climb harder routes, that kind of thing. So just because I watch them and I really love the stuff that they do, it's just really inspiring to see people who are devoting their lives to mountaineering to do this. It seems like, of course, I know that there's so much training to be able to run that fast. It doesn't just come from sitting on your couch or going to do some rock climbing a few times a week. So yeah, so it's really nice to see people who are so passionate about mountains that I kind of feel that I get a little bit of that as well into me. So I also feel like I really want to go to the mountains as much as possible, and then just do some cool things up there.
Nice. Our next question is, if your younger self could see you now, what would they say?
God. My younger self, what would they say? Well, I just wish, like when I meet people like Bianca, who are 17 years old, they're climbing Everest and Manaslu and all these big mountains. I wish I was doing that when I was 17. But of course, we all come from different backgrounds, different life stories and so on. So like I guess in my 20s, I was living in London, and for me, London life was very far from what I'm doing right now. And I was a radio DJ at the time, and I was just like, it was going from one party to the next. So that was my London life. So I guess, if I could, I would probably just do more of one sport, like stick with it. Like, so I just wish that I got into mountains much younger, because because I would have been a different level climber now. If I had started earlier, then I would have gone through all the years and years of experience and practice and so on much earlier. So yeah, like sometimes I feel that these younger people that I meet, like in their 20s and their 30s, and they're climbing, like, I don't know, like North Faces and things. And I'm like, and I feel really jealous, because I really want to be able to do that too. But I know there is a learning curve in everything. You need to gain the experience. You can't just jump from, Breithorn to Eiger North Face suddenly. You need to do that route. Yeah. So I feel, I probably would say go climbing mountains much earlier.
Well, and Julia, the last question we have for you is a message for anyone who's listening.
Message for anybody who's listening is I would say, to believe in yourself. That's very important. So if you have something that you aspire to do, or a dream of some kind, whatever it might be, it might not be in the mountains, it may be something else, but just to go for it, to try not to pay attention to what others might think, or what you think that they think, to not let anything get in the way, because even the wildest dreams, they might seem really far away, but it's entirely possible to make it happen. Just need to put your mind to it and really give it all. So I think it's also one of those important life lessons that I get from the mountains as well, is that really anything is possible. I know a lot of people say to me, oh, Everest is like, I will never climb it because it's so expensive. It's so this, so that, so this. But I used to think that too. And somehow, like 5 years later, whatever it is, I've just climbed it. So it is possible. You just really have to give it all and believe in yourself.
Well, that was an incredible story. Yeah. Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, guys. Nice to meet you.